All right. So one thing that's really cool about just doing what I do, I would say for a living, but let's just call it a side living. But one of the cool things about just covering comics is discovering all of these really cool independent projects that come to Kickstarter super often. And one such project is launching soon. It's called Indigo Clan. Now, this has been a series of individual issues, but now it is getting a trade collection. And here to talk with us about the Indigo Clan collection is Mr. Rael Nagasta and Mr. N. Stephen Harris. How are you guys today?
Doing well, doing well.
Hey,
Awesome.
BJ, yeah, I'm doing good, thanks.
Oh, no problem at all. So like I said, this project just kind of came into my inbox and I was like, oh, this looks really, really cool. But what can you tell me about how this came together, and why collecting it now?
Yeah. Um, so how the Indigo Clan came together, work of passion. Um, Basically, after years of research into metaphysics, spirituality, different spiritual systems, as well as my own personal experiences with consciousness and shamanic experiences, studying archetypes, you know, um, and being a part of this kind of culture that was around where folks were, you know, aware, and some folks even had like, special gifts of, being really intelligent. Some folks could see auras and these types of things. And I was like, okay, I really want to combine all this together, and that's where the idea for the comic book came from. And after some years of letting it grow, it's like, oh, okay, then it came a point where I'm like, I need to turn this into a story now. And then after the first chapter, um, Steven came on board and added his vision and his professional touch to the series.
Awesome. And how did you guys connect? How'd you meet?
I don't know if Steven knows this, but I actually
Mm.
met you at Afropunk 2017.
Really?
I was vending there with Anthony Angelero, the illustrator from the first comic, and you were
Uh-huh.
there. I know because that's where I met you. And
Oh,
Anthony was
wow.
like, "Oh, this is N. Stephen Harris. He's like a really great illustrator." Da 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 da.
Oh,
And you had like dreads, you know.
yeah,
It was,
yeah.
and he was like, "Hey, cool. What's up? What's up, guys? All right, cool." But so that's yeah. I actually met him in person then, and we haven't really
Oh,
talked about that since then. But and then yeah, I was like looking for an artist for chapter two because Anthony couldn't do it anymore, and I was scrolling on Instagram and I was following Steven, and I saw him make a posting like available for commissions, and I sent him a message, and he was like, "This looks cool. Like, let me see the comic," and he's like, "Okay, I'm into it."
So, Stephen, from your perspective, right? Like, I think when it comes to projects like this, I guess any person is like, all right, well, I got bills to pay, but there's a degree to which it's like, okay, well, I can't draw this if I'm not interested in it. What was it about this story that convinced you to become a part of it?
there were black people in it, man. Doing cool stuff. So, I mean, I love drawing action adventure. Uh, what is action adventure, sci-fi, uh, giant robots. If I can do giant robots, I would love to do that too. Any stuff like that. I love drawing. Lately, I've been drawing a lot of historical stuff, but that came afterwards because like when Ryle called, I had a few months earlier. I just got off a stint with DC's Michael Cray. That had ended in September October of 2018. I went through a stretch of like not a lot of work coming in from October to January, and then suddenly work started coming in again, and I was doing like I was I think Ryle called me just before I went to Detroit because a friend of mine who had just passed away was doing a passed away in 2023, but she was doing a con No, she wasn't doing a con. She does cons. She did cons, but she was doing a residency at Detroit High School, and I was there to teach a class on comic books, character design, and then I came back right into Black Comics Collective at BAM in Brooklyn, which followed uh, Black Comic Festival at the Schaumburg. Same, she was a co-founder. Deirdre Holman. She did a thing called Black Comics, and then I started working on Indigo Clan shortly after because I think Raul contacted me in February, January, February. I think you contacted me in, and
Hmm.
shortly after that, I started was just on the ball rolling with that with Indigo Clan.
Nice, nice. No, I'm a big fan of black people doing cool stuff, so I can relate. Um, so Riley, you talked about this just being inspired by a lot of like metaphysics and things that you had been studying, people having these different experiences, displaying different abilities and things like that. How do you take those different influences and put them in a book in a way that makes sense and is not like, I don't know, maybe perceived as disrespectful to one area of discipline or another? Like how do you put that all together?
Exaggerated. Um, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some exaggeration and kind of some concepts that kind of I expanded upon. Like for example, in the comic, there's this concept of reptoids, which comes from this conspiracy theory about reptilians, like shape-shifting aliens or whatever that, took uh place of like humans and politicians, these types of things. That's a little out there. But
Right.
for me, the concept was like, okay, like there are people who operate out of greed, fear, and hatred, selfishness, these types of things. And that type of thinking comes from our reptilian mind. All humans have like a reptilian part of their brain, and that's rooted in that survival aspect that leads to those type of thought patterns. And so playing on that concept, like, okay, like maybe there's not shape shifting, reptilian aliens or whatever. Maybe there is, but just kind of playing off this concept like, okay, there's forces and there's certain types of thought patterns that lead to corruption, lead to oppression, and so the reptoids represent that. And making them kind of like demonic spirits also ties in this concept that, sometimes people's thought patterns can come from a spiritual realm or from energy and these types of things.
Got you. And I guess I should take a step back for the audience. For those who have not read Indigo Clan yet, could you give us like a brief sort of plot synopsis? Like what's the book about?
Yeah, I like Steven's tagline. You want to start us off with
But,
your
yeah,
tagline?
every time I do conventions, I say this. It is a metaphysical martial arts action adventure featuring a group of young people fighting an ancient evil, using their powers based off their cultural, spiritual beliefs and their cultural background.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's simple. My tagline was martial arts mystics on a metaphysical mission to raise the consciousness of the planet and stop the manipulation of the masses.
I like
So
it.
yeah,
I
the
like the
tagline.
alliteration. It's
So
nice. So I'll come through, I'll read just a little bit from the Kickstarter page. It says, is it Deva or Diva?
I say Deva.
Okay. So Deva, a young black woman and chakra prodigy from Oakland, races to awaken ancient portals of light before darkness conquers humanity. And I just want to, you know what? I'm going to share my screen real quick because I need the audience just to see this really cool promo image. Like I don't know who these characters are. Just looking on the face, but like it, black people doing cool stuff, right? It's really interesting to see. Um, Maybe you guys could walk us through what we're looking at here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see it, but
Oh, it's not showing. Let's
I
see.
can see it. You don't see it, Greg, right?
oh, I'm on my phone. Maybe that's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I.
Uh,
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I see it
okay.
now. So yeah, I mean, this first image is character designs that were actually drawn by Walt Barna, who's the colorist of Indigo Clan.
Hmm,
He did the colors in chapters 2 through 5, and then he also did these character designs of each character. And so that's this main image here. Steven is finishing. He's pretty much finished the cover, the brand new cover that will
Yeah,
be.
I finished it. I sent you see the email.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're just
Oh,
finishing
you
the
said yeah,
final
yeah.
edits and
Maybe notes. Right. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that new brand new cover is going to be the new hero image that we're going to see on the when the Kickstarter launches October 7th,
nice.
on next Tuesday.
Okay.
But I don't know when you're airing this, but so yeah, we'll have a brand new cover image there. This is another version of those characters that Walt Barna drew.
Nice. All right. So I'll just pick one. This one doing the windmill. Who is this that we're looking at?
Hmm. His name is Horacio. He's Afro-Brazilian, and he's doing capoeira right there,
Nice.
the Brazilian martial arts dance. His powers are he channels an ancient Egyptian angel named Heru, and he uses his sacred geometry powers to help him with his movements, doing, martial arts, capoeira, parkour, and it enhances his ability to do those things.
Nice. And for the audience watching at home, capoeira is a huge inspiration for breakdancing, as birthed in 70s, 80s hip hop culture. So this is why it looks like he's breakdancing.
True. Yeah. You breakdance?
I do not. I do not breakdance at all.
Me neither, but I've done some capoeira.
Oh, nice.
My younger brother was a break dancer.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you got
My,
some moves, Steven.
My younger brother was a young.
He didn't teach you any moves?
I dance to house music. I'm always a house
Okay.
music
my uncle was a b-boy for a while,
dancer.
but yeah, none of that over here. Um, okay, so it looks like we've got a Native American woman here with I don't know how to I can't guess my jungle cats.
Jaguar, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
I pronounce her name Yamaya. She's, indigenous Mexican woman, medicine woman, healer. She activates people's indigo powers, which, are the potential that people have um to be, um their best version of themselves in the world. And in the comic book, that means that they have powers and things like that. So, um, even in battle, she can use her healing powers because when she's battling somebody, that person can actually just need a healing. And so she could take them out by healing them. And then the spirit jaguar kind of is playing on this concept of spirit animals that's prevalent in a lot of indigenous traditions. And so the jaguar protects her in the spiritual realm. So even in battle, in the comic book, there's spiritual energy that they're fighting with and fighting against. And so the jaguar helps with that.
Nice. All right, I'll pick one more. Um, I gotta know about my man with the cobra staff.
Yeah. Anxo. His name's Anxo. He's from Cuba, and he's like a master indigo. So one of the most powerful indigos in the Indigo clan. And he has abilities like telepathy, so he can kind of know what people are thinking, uh, and he uses that to be able to talk himself into and out of any situation. And he also has a cane, so he also is a master of a vibration, and he uses the cane kind of like a tuning fork or as like a resonator of vibration because the vibration the vibrations in the comic book heal people, and it also helps them to fight against the reptoids because everything is vibration and gets a little metaphysical and being able to manipulate energy and affect people through a vibration.
Nice. Very cool. It's interesting to me just how different each of the backgrounds for each of the characters is. What level of research had to go into, each of their backgrounds to like, I don't know, to either stay authentic or just respectful in your portrayals? How was that process for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was, just studying these things for many years, as far as like the metaphysics and the different cultures go. And then, for example, Ankso, when I was writing chapter two, when I was getting ready to write chapter two, I was like, actually, I need to go to Cuba. And this was when Obama was president, so I flew from Miami to Cuba and went there and had experiences that were like, oh, okay, yeah, this is coming to life. And then actually after that, I went to Jamaica because in the comic book, I was like, that's how the story unfolded. Like they needed to go to Jamaica after they went to Cuba. So then I went to Jamaica, explored Jamaica, went to the top of Blue Mountain, and was like, oh, okay, this is where they're going to go to activate the Light Dome, which is part of like the Indigo clan's missions to activate the sacred areas in the earth and around the planet. So yeah, I definitely put a lot of research into each character, have whole histories behind their backgrounds and that type of thing.
Nice. So, okay, I'll take a step even further back, right? So, we're conducting this interview. You're coming live from looks like a recording studio. Um, are you a musician? What's your background?
Yeah, I'm a musician. Um, I mostly do sound healing these days. So using music to help people with meditation, relaxation, and these types of things. My wife and I have a group called Auspicious Acoustics. It's me and her, and we do sound healing. Folks come in, they lay down. We go through a wide spectrum, a variety of instruments, and help folks get deep relaxation, journey deep, sometimes profound healing or revelations and meditation.
Hmm,
And we also have a YouTube. We're releasing our meditation music on YouTube, and yeah, that's most of what I'm doing musically these days.
nice. And Stephen, but I know you've had a pretty storied career up to this point. What can you tell us about just sort of your background and how you got started in visual arts?
Oh boy, how I got started. It all started back in the day, man. It's I've been drawing since I was like in second grade. What really turned it around was when I saw Star Wars. I saw it when it came out, so I'm up there. So I saw so I that started my journey into really get into sci-fi. I was drawing these big scene drawings, and I was drawing these big scene drawings from like the third grade up until till throughout junior high school, and I wanted to tell a story with my work. I was like, I was influenced by comics, anime, drawing my favorite animation, which was Star Blazers. That's an old anime from the 70s and 80s, and sci-fi TV shows. So I started wanting to tell a story with my work. I wanted to see a progression with storylines and characters and stuff. I said, okay, I can either do animation or comics. Animation was too much work, so I settled on comics. And comics is enough work as it is, but much less work than animation. So uh, so I was to develop my I started drawing, learning how to draw the human figure because I was always drawing spaceships before, and I started collecting comic books again because I was collecting comics in the late 70s, early 80s, and I started collecting comics more when I was drawing when I got in high school. And I started collecting X-Men, more superhero comics, X-Men, Spider-Man, all that stuff. And my collection kept going, growing big. And I started paying attention to artists. My influences were like John Romita Jr., John Romita Jr., Garcia Lopez, Barry Windsor Smith, Michael Golden, later on was Larry Stroman when he was doing Alien Legion.
Mhm.
And then I went to college, I went to School of Visual Arts. In my third year, I met Dennis Cowan and Michael Davis. I I was taking Michael Davis. Michael Davis was giving a class in Harlem called the Children's Art Carnival. So I lived in Jersey, and I moved to Harlem in my third year in college. And I took his class, and in that class, I met Dennis Cowan. Less than a year later, I became his assistant, and I was assistant for maybe a little more than a year. And then they started Milestone together with along with the late um, Dwayne McDuffie, Derek Dingle. Of Derek Dingle was a CEO or at Black Enterprise. I don't know if he was CEO, but he worked at Black Enterprise. So yeah, then from there I got my first job for a small company in Long Island. I did awful, but the thing about it was I was accountable and I got the job done on time. Most important thing is getting the job done on time. Job done on time and doing a good job. But if you're not going to do a good job, at least get it done on time. So yeah, uh, but they hired me again to do just less work. So before I did pencils and inks, and I had to do that in a 3.5 week time. And the company was called Personality Comics, and their specialty was doing celebrities and from sports to TV to movies. My character, the person I was doing was the late Ricky Henderson,
Mm.
and the best page I did on there was the first page. It was and that from there on it was downhill. But so now from then on I did work for DC Comics, Dark Horse Comics. Uh, I started doing a lot of work for DC Comics. I co-created a character called Aztek. I did some Batman and some Batman stories. I did a little bit of Marvel work. I did some X Force and X Generation X comics. And along the way, I won a couple of Glyph awards and got a couple of nominations for Eisner. My work on Watson and Holmes, and and my creator owned works, Ajala. I got a couple of Glyph awards for best female character, and a few Glyph awards for Watson and Holmes. So yeah, I did Voltron for Dynamite. Oh man, I told you before I did Michael Cray for DC Comics in back in 2017, 2018. That was fun. And I did Voltron for Dynamite. I said Voltron. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Voltron for a year. And yeah, and a few other things for a few various projects for smaller companies, individuals, and so on and so forth.
Nice. So I want to camp in the early days for just a second, since you mentioned Michael Davis and Dennis Cowan.
Yeah.
Both are good friends of the channel and the show. Um, Actually, I've had Dennis on the show a couple of times, and then
Mm-hmm.
Michael and I speak, um, as often as possible. He's kind of been spotty on the internet here lately, but
Yeah.
um, I'm curious to know like what those two gentlemen meant to you in those early days. Some of the lessons maybe you took away from your time with them.
Mike has the gift of gab. He can sell anybody anything at a time, especially in his younger days. So every Friday, uh, now okay, Saturday we will meet at the place called Children's Art Carnival, which was a non-profit community art organization run and founded by a late Betty Blayton Taylor. So he had a group of young Black and Latino kids coming every Saturday morning to talk about not to learn about comics. And our assignment was to do a page a week that from a story that we wrote, penciled, inked, and colored. Uh, and so some kids were over eager and was like, I can do five, I can do 10. I said, no, no, no. He said, do one page a week. And so the idea was that by the end of the year, we would have 32-page graphic novel that we could show to editors when we walk through conventions or to mail to editors at the comic companies. So uh so he is in the habit of thinking professionally, working uh in the medium of well, working professionally, being able to do all aspects of the comics, writing, penciling, and coloring, and inking, writing, penciling, inking, and coloring. Uh, so we could do all three of those. He said, do a DC character. You cannot under by any means do not use Batman. And what do I do? I put Batman in my book, but the main character was Black Lightning, and Batman gets shot, and Black Lightning has to save his life.
Mm.
And at the time, it was an agent of South Africa, because South Africa was in the news big a lot in that time. So the agents from South Africa that wanted to shoot Black Lightning, but they hit Batman instead because
Mm.
Batman got in the way. So um, Dennis, Dennis got me closer to the professional. One more thing about Mike. Mike, in addition to having us come in class every Saturday, the advanced class, he somehow convinced the higher ups of DC to have a bunch of Black and Latino kids come in DC Comics on a Friday evening to talk about and critique our work on comics.
Wow.
And these Black and Latino kids had the discipline to come in to give up their Friday nights. Now, these are high school, and I was in college at the time. So, high school and college age young Black kids and Latino kids coming in every Friday to talk about their work and learn about comics. In that class was Sean Martinborough, Felix Serrano, Walter McDaniels, who was big in the 90s and early 2000s doing the comics. Chris Sotomayor came in later. The late John Paul Leon was a student of Michael Davis. Bernard Chang, um, Adam Polina would later came along, and Brett Lewis, who wrote Winterman.
Mm.
Him and John Paul Leon did the book Winterman, and Kevin McCarthy, and so and a bunch of others that I'm blanking on, but yeah, those were some of the students that came out of Michael Davis's class, and that group of kids that were in his class.
That's insane. Just that level of talent.
Yeah, and with Dennis, he had me close. Like I said, he had me closer to the profession. He got me my first job with that company, Personality Comics, which later became Triumphant Comics. They transitioned from doing celebrity oriented comics to superhero comics, and
Mm.
I was on a book called Chromium Man,
Mm.
and that ran. Yeah, I was on there from 92, 94, no 94, 93, 94. I was on there. So uh, so that's they helped me with my storytelling. Dennis helped me with my storytelling and my drawing. And okay, one important thing was that I was always doing sample work or work that I could think of, or the stories that I made up, or sample work like 5-10 pages. And I was always drawing on the illustration board, right, which is like a big cardboard surface. Working with Dennis, I had to adjust big time. I had to work from a script that somebody else wrote and work on Marvel DC paper, which was like I wasn't used to doing, and my work took a hit. I was like, I was, it was always when I was read the script, when I read the script of someone else's writing, I was always second guessing myself. What's the writer thinking? Instead of trusting what I saw from the writing and synthesizing my idea with the writer's idea, I was trying to get in the writer's head and see what they were thinking and what they were envisioning, and that took a hit my confidence, but I needed to do that in order to get through that learning block to be able to do professional comics. So uh, working with Dennis helped me get over that and help my first job not go as bad as it could have went.
Mm.
You know, so but it prepared me for my other jobs in reading scripts, trusting my vision, and merging with what the writer wrote, and making sure all those elements of what the writer wrote were in those pages, in those panels, in those pages of the comic book, and make sure the storytelling. So, and they also helped with my storytelling, make sure things were on point. As if can a reader read what's going on? Can they get a general idea of what's going on, even if the words aren't there?
Mm. That's dope. And that brings up an interesting point, Rael, for you, because I mean, obviously comics are a collaborative process, but a lot of these things start off as ideas in the writer's head. And the way I kind of envision it is like all right, I'm gonna write this thing down, give it to an artist, and then like magically it's a comic book. Or not magically, through a lot of hard work. It's a comic, but you know, for me, I'm like, okay, for this to go from like a script on paper to a page that I can use, that just feels like a gift, right? But at the same time, like, yeah, there are things that maybe work or don't work. And maybe there's tweaks that need to be made or whatever. When you are, because Stephen wasn't the first artist on this project, but so when you're going to an artist like, hey, I want what you bring to a project, how are you balancing that? Like whatever may be his personal stylings or his interpretation, or in some instances, maybe even a misinterpretation, but it's like, how are you working with that? Or does it really just feel like that sort of gift? Like whatever he does is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's a balance. And because it's also, I don't want to like give every single detail and everything so the artist has no creative input. And so when I was looking for an artist to work with, I looked through a lot of people. I paid a lot of people to do a character design. So like, okay, let's see what you do a character design, and for me it was also important to work with a person of color, because I found this guy who did a pretty good job, but he wasn't a person of color,
Mm.
and I was like, and his style was good, but there were some things I'm like, I don't know if that's how, a person of color would have drawn this scene or this person or whatever. And so finding the right artist and already resonating with their style and seeing some of the stuff that they're doing is like, oh, okay, like this is the style I want. And then when I write, I also put a lot of reference images in there, because in the comic we have things like sacred geometry, auras, chakras, these different things. And so I really want to capture these concepts. I really want to portray these concepts so people can see what it's like, see to understand what it is, and to kind of get a real version of what it's like to experience that or see those types of things. And so that's what I do. I put a lot of reference images, and sometimes too many, and sometimes I do stuff that are done by other artists, and it's like this whole elaborate specialized thing, like maybe a Alex Gray, if you're familiar with him, where he has psychedelic art and it has like all these, you know, certain type of special effects and details happening. And it's like, you know, that's not the type of art that comic book artists do. So that's what I'm going for. But, I also have to work with where an artist is, what he wants to do, and where he's coming from.
And then so in breaking out, Stephen, of this thing where it's like, okay, well, how do I get inside the writer's mind and learning to trust yourself more? Where does that confidence come from? Is it like, I took 1,000 free throws already, so I'm just gonna put up the shot because I know how to put up the shot? Or is there something that you're searching for creatively or a way to express things differently each time?
It comes from community. And what I mean is it comes from the teachers and from your peers. And when you open yourself up, but I opened myself up and showed people, whether it is my peers, my teachers, and they gave me an honest critique of my work, that helped me get better. And that in turn uh, um, helped flourish the confidence within me to do what I do and get better and see what they're doing. And in doing that, it's hard not to compare, but you don't want to compare. You want to just get better. You want to use that as motivation to get to a professional level. Sometimes editors will always show me all the time who people's work who they felt wasn't great, but it met a certain professional level. And they said, we want this work may be the best work, but they got a professional quality about their work. Their line is clean, the storytelling's on point, and they're getting their work in on time. And so that those things led me to, and this I just wanted to be good. I mean, I looked some of the greats, like I love Garcia Lopez's work. I really like drawing the human figure. I really like drawing action. I like drawing. I wanted to draw all sorts of people, whether they're beautiful people, whether ugly people, whether different shapes and sizes. Uh, I want to capture it accurately and not just accurately, but I wanted to have a feel to it. I wanted to maybe have subtleties to it, a gesture that maybe capture an emotion that people can speak to, that people can relate to, that people can see in their own lives, or yeah, or they can see immediately. Oh, this is a touching moment. Oh, this is uh, a retching moment. This is a happy moment. Whether it's hand-to-hand combat or just a conversation in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to draw that kitchen accurately. I want to draw that kitchen, not, but I want to feel like a kitchen. I want to have, I want to have, if it's, is the gas stove, is the stove from 1920s, is the stove from 2044, 2144, 2344,
Mm.
So that's what I look to do. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no,
Hey, BJ,
yes.
that's what he's saying is also kind of bringing up another point for me for anybody who's an aspiring writer or artist is being professional, and that was a huge factor. I mean, obviously, Steven is an amazing artist and he's super professional. He communicates clearly, he puts the details and the quality of work into the art, and uh he does things when he says he's going to do them. And for me, like, because I've worked with other artists and stuff, some artists take a long time, some artists flake, some artists take the money and don't do the art, some artists disappoint. And Steven was like, not any of that. Steven was coming through, he was not disappointing. He was able to take these super interesting out there ideas I had and turn them into a beautiful vision.
Yeah, because I want people to keep calling me back. That's why. And it goes back to school, right? I I was one of the top artists in my high school, one of the top three. I say top three, and all of our names were Steven. And one Steve. He's in Newark right now. He's a bishop. Shout out to my man Stephen Green. He was a graffiti artist and a DJ. Another one it was named Stephen Fine. He was a fine artist, and I don't know where he is now. And and my high school bragged about having the most art classes for a public high school on the East Coast. I didn't know that until my senior year in high school, but I always knew they had a lot of art classes that I wanted to take, but I had to get all my requirements out of the way first. And I had a couple setbacks along the way. I had to take geometry over again and biology. So, but my senior year, I only had two requirements. I had math, no, gym and English, and the rest were art classes. And the
Mm.
art classes they had were drawing one, drawing two, painting two, lettering, photography, and airbrush. They also offered advertising art, but it was not offered the year I was a senior. But it came back after I graduated, unfortunately for me. But yes, and going from there into college was a big culture shock, right? Because uh, I wasn't one of the top artists anymore. you know,
Mm.
I was among a bunch of people that were top artists in high school and other artists that went through arts high schools like art and design, LaGuardia. I grew up in like a school in a small school in Jersey. So I thought, and I had a job over the summertime at AT&T in the art department. I learned airbrush, I learned how to, ink with a brush. I thought I was coming in ahead of the game. I was barely on time when I went to SVA. And so I was very intimidated my first couple of years at SVA. And I say, listen, I mean, in my orientation, there were teachers giving talks in the Gramercy Theater on 23rd Street in Manhattan about what to expect or how to work as an illustrator. And then they said put in not just 8 hour days, but 11-hour days. I'm like, oh my God, what? And they said if you want to make it, you gotta put in those hours and be professional. And they ingrained in professionalism and being on time, not ma- and making your deadlines and being and making sure you communicate with your client all the time. And I was like, this came as stable for me. And that was more then that was really ingrained in me with Michael and Dennis and other professionals along the way. So it was not within me or the option to be flaky non-communicative because I was like, if I was going, for me, art, it was art or bust.
Mm,
And I wasn't, and I looked at I mean, a part-time job for me was a means to an end, pay bills. I wasn't looking for a promotion. I wasn't looking for management. I was looking for just, a retail job, a stock job, uh, a busboy job. I did all those jobs. I did not look forward to it. I mean, only upward mobility was like from busboy to line cook. That was
mm.
it, and in a raise. And that was my first job. And that's another story. I almost got into a fight with my manager my last day, but racist dude. But that's another story altogether. He wanted to fight a 15-year-old. But anyway, that's another story altogether. But yeah, so being professional and being on time and being reliable and being in communication was always a big thing for me. I mean, if I was going to be late, I want to let someone know. I want to let someone know ahead of time what my schedule was, when I could do it. And if they were unprofessional on the other end, I would say, listen, I mean, I did this for you. And if you don't get back to me by a certain time, your project is no longer be a priority for me. I got to take on other work, and I had this problem with a client a few years ago. But so that's it works both ways. But I make sure I handle stuff on my end for the most part.
Yeah. The first of all, just you know, I got a couple of pages of art because I've got a fundraiser going on right now. Somebody sent me a couple pages of art for that, and it was just fan art. But when you see it, it's like you can appreciate more like the work that goes into it as opposed to looking at a finished page, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then like when I go to conventions and I was flipping through Jonathan Glapian's portfolio, and Dennis was there too. So I was flipping through some of Dennis's stuff as well. Uh,
He would ink over
Capullo.
Capula. Yes, yes. I met him at Florida SuperCon in 2016.
Mm, yeah, and so but just going through it and you notice all the details and just all the lines and like any not to disparage anyone with dreams of being an artist, right? But it's like you look and you immediately see the difference between like a
Yeah,
professional
yeah,
and your friend that's really good at drawing, you
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And so, but then to be able to do that under like deadline pressure, right? For you to be able to turn around 20 pages in 30 days, right?
Hmm.
Like that's just insane.
Like more like 40 days, but yeah, but
Okay,
who's
right.
counting?
But I say that to say like how do you work up the speed? How does one who's aspiring to do that like how do you get it done? How do you build up the confidence to
it's it's
throw it down
planning
like
and
that?
it's planning and self-editing. I look at my work on Michael Cray, and I see that work is less involved than my work on Indigo Clan. And ever since work I've gotten after 2019, I have not done 5 pages a week like I was doing with Michael Cray or work with DC or Marvel. That was I used to do 5 pages a week, 4 to 5, 5 pages a week. Maybe every 2 years, six pages would be happening.
Mm,
But uh, I've gotten more liberal. I've gotten projects with more liberal deadlines. I can do multiple projects now, but still have liberal deadlines where there's not a hard deadline. And so that is what's helped me do those jobs. But like I said, how to make those deadlines is planning and self editing. You don't put everything. You would want to modify what you can do on these pages and maintain a schedule. Sometimes I wouldn't recommend this, but I would do all nighters. I don't do all nighters anymore, but I would do all nighters to make a job. I mean, I was doing storyboards for TV commercials, and they would have murderous deadlines, and it would be intense for about 3 to 5 days on the project, and then but it was more money, but it's like, oh my god, I got to do all these frames, uh, again, it's not like animation, but it's more money per frame with story with advertising and TV commercials. But I was like, penciling, inking, and coloring. I was coloring with a marker at the time, and so it's just about uh, not making those things precious. And with comics, you want to mitigate the preciousness.
Mm.
I mean, at some point, you do want to resell them, so you don't want to just put out slop. But sometimes these companies can put you in a bind too. They'll tell you a deadline is one thing, and then all of a sudden it's another thing.
Mm.
You think you have a month, next thing you have 2 weeks, and then you're losing. And then if you can't make it, they're filling it. They're having a bunch of filling artists come and take the slack, pick up the slack, and that's through no fault of your own. I mean, sometimes it could be a fault of your own because maybe, but sometimes a lot of times I can't tell you percentage, but sometimes it's on the editor, it's on the writer that were late. The editor didn't get back to you or whatever. I don't know whatever they were dealing with. I know a friend who had a project. He was supposed to he was expecting to do like 48 pages, and he didn't hear from the editor for like a couple months, and next thing you know, the deadline didn't change, and he's only doing 15 pages, and they're chopping it up amongst other artists. So that's that end. But if you get it, but for on the artist end, if you get time like a month or 5 weeks to do a book, it's about you set time to read the schedule, read the script, doing your thumbnail layouts, and then doing your finished pencils. And you try to work out a schedule that works for you, best for you. Right now, I try to do 2 to 4 pages a week if I'm on a project. If I got a couple projects going, if I got a couple projects at the same time, it's a little wonkier than that.
Mm.
But I try to make sure I give myself enough time and the client a heads up of when I would finish with the project.
Got you. So we've been talking a lot. We've been camping out a bit on professionalism, right,
Mm-hmm.
in comic art. And I want to bring that back to this collection. Because, of course, you guys have been working together to complete this book. You brought in an editor for the collection. Why is Joe Illidge important to this process?
Yeah, Stephen introduced me to Joseph, and the I worked with him originally a few years ago. I was going to do a trade collection with 4 chapters,
Mm.
and then I brought Joseph in, and he did the edits for those 4 chapters. So those are already done actually, and things switched up. Life happened, that's another factor. And then I went with published chapter 5, so I'm doing all 5 chapters. And so bringing um, Joseph in was to really just up the ante and professionalism. Like, yeah, I'm a writer, but I'm not like in the comic book industry for, decades like these guys are.
Mm.
It's just, having written several books and been editors and all the big companies. So I'm like, okay, like I really want to make Indigo Clan the best that I can make it. And having this industry level editor who's also a, person of color, a black man who can also have that lens and put that lens on the comic and um his experience, his connection to Steven, all those things. And so, I'm also curious what Steven might have to say about Joseph since he's worked with him on other projects and he recommended him.
Yeah, Joe gives pardon the pun, a third eye to the project. Uh, Joe and I go back. I first met Joe uh, at School Village Large. We were in college together, so we go back to 89, 88, and so he's worked at Milestone DC. I worked with him. I worked with Joe on a Huntress story at DC Comics. We worked again together uh, on Solar Man back in 2015, 2016. And here again, and maybe some things between then and now. But I recommended him to Ryle to help because you're kind of new to writing comics, right, Ryle?
That's right.
Yeah. So, and with just, I mean, as an artist too, artists aren't not immune to not have or not special from needing an editor because you need that extra eye in there to keep things streamlined, make things kind of consistent, whether in the writing or whether in the art. So I think, and anybody who's doing a book could use an editor. Uh, I know if I was writing something, I would have some typos in there that I, even if I were proofread, I'll miss some things because my mind will put the word in there and I'll see it in my mind and it's still not there. And so, so you need that unbiased view to keep things on point and together.
Yeah, Joseph had a lot of input for the cover. He had a Joseph had a strong vision for the cover. He's like, this is what you guys need to have for the cover. And both Steve and I were like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. And it's Stephen brought that vision to life. And then, Joseph is helping with the layout, the first pages, what's on the pages, what's the aesthetics, what's the design going to be in the book, how do we format the content, what's in the back of the book, the extra stories and the other content, what do people actually want, because I have a lot of ideas, but Joseph has a lot more experience with what people actually want to see in these books. Like for example, in the past, in trade collections, you used to see like from sketch to drawing to pencils. You used to see like the behind the scenes of making it, but Joseph was like, folks don't want to see that anymore. They want to see more content,
Mm,
this and that.
yeah, and Joseph's got a lot going on right now as well. He's writing Bloodletter in the Spawn universe of titles right now. He just did Shadow Cabinet for the Milestone Returns relaunch. Um, there was something else they just announced. I think they're doing a SWAT Cats, and Joseph's in the middle of the SWAT Cats reboot. There's a lot there. So shout out to Joseph Illich. He's a good friend of the show as well. Um,
Now, I
but
never heard
yeah,
of SWAT. I never heard of SWAT Cats. There's a reboot of what's SWAT Cats?
so SWAT Cats was an animated series. Like it came out like after like Ninja Turtles and like
Oh
Street
wow.
Sharks and stuff like that. But it was a Hanna-Barbera show,
Mm,
but it did look like anything else that Hanna-Barbera was doing. But yeah, like early 90s
really?
action show with like it was these house cats, but like with a plane. They were like spies, like secret agent type stuff. I don't know. I love SWAT cats.
See, I remember Centurions was something like was something that I never seen Hanna Barbera do. That was like in the late '80s
Mm,
or mid something. It was in the '80s.
word. Yeah, I've not heard of that, but that gives me
Oh yeah.
something to look up. And so now Indigo Clan has been nominated for three Glyph Awards, one for Best Cover, one for Best Artist, and one for Best Character, which should just show you guys watching this that it's something you need to get behind. Like it's a great book. I'm just looking at the covers for the single issues. Like it's just I don't know. It's from the name of the book. I really love these covers. It's just it draws you in. I guess is the best way to put that. Like I'm looking at it, the collection covers, and it's just like, what is that? I need to read that. Now you I'm assuming you get out on the convention circuit a lot. Like what is the response like to this book typically?
Oh, I mean, I'm in New York, so especially at Black Comic Book Fest, you have people who would love the metaphysical aspect of it. Uh, Other people love the martial arts aspect of it. So, and I always say, in addition to the spiel I give, I sometimes say, that these are heroes, the young heroes, and they're in at least three locations. And when I say the globe, I mean the globe because they're at least in 2 to 3 different locations each book. So in the first book, they were in America and in the Yucatan. In the second book, they were in the Yucatan, Brazil, no, Yucatan, I think
Cuba,
Brazil,
Jamaica.
Cuba, and then third book they're in Colombia, then Brazil. So they're going all over the place, and somehow Axel is a character. He finds out how to get him somewhere, someplace, uh, every time especially if they're on the run. He'll find somewhere to get some way to get them out of there to the next location. But so uh, those are some of the things that people are interested in, whether it's the metaphysical, the action, the martial arts aspect of it, and the vibrant colors that Walt Barner brings out. I mean, I don't even touch the trying to pencil some of the things that Rael puts in the books as far as the ayahuasca energy or sacred energy. I'll leave that to Walt, his color skills to bring that out because he's a monster with the effects on there, and this is like this like was tailor made for him to color. And I've been working with Walt since uh 2012 or something like that, 2013 when he first colored a book of mine. My partner, my late partner, Robert Garrett, who we did a book together called Ajala, and he had a company called Exmore Studios. He first brought Walt on the color Ajala, our book Ajala, and then next thing I know, Walt is just going through the not the companies, the industry blowing up with all these jobs he's getting, and he's doing a great job. I mean, he deserves it. He earned it with his work and his skill on and talent with these colors. He does.
Nice. Now, I'm trying to launch. I'm gonna try to put this episode out to coincide with the launch. This is going live. You said on the 7th.
That's right.
Okay, so this will likely be out the Thursday right after. So we're at the beginning of this campaign. What's the goal that we're looking to reach to fund this paperback?
Yeah, I mean the official Kickstarter goal is 5,000,
Okay.
and that's like the bare minimum of. I mean, 5,000 is going to be what we need to like get the comic out there. Everything's already there, just basically paying for the editing, paying for the printing, getting the design done, um, all those things, the final details,
Mm.
some marketing. And really, we have some really amazing stretch goals. So we want to add even more content. It's 192 pages. So we want to add more pages to bring it to 208 because there's other content that I have that I want to incorporate into the book, but it's like it's going to take more work. It's going to take more art.
Mm.
There's, you know, a music project that we're releasing with the comic. It's music made to go along with the comic. Some of it's going to be folks rapping and singing as though they are the characters in the comic.
Mm.
So making music about that. There's also going to be an instrumental album. And these are both going to be produced by Jabari Tawiya, who's a good friend of mine who won a Grammy as an audio engineer. And so he's bringing his flavor onto it. And he's also going to be doing the soundtrack for the animation. So we're going to have 2 episodes of motion graphics animation, pages from the comic turned into like animation. And then the soundtrack's going to have the music and, the different voices and the sound effects, all these things. Some other stretch goals are like a digital comic of Deva. We have some other art that can be worked on. So it's going to be another short story, digital comic book, and has some other things lined up, variant covers, and was the other thing with the stretch goal? Chapter 6 cover, because we've already started chapter 6. Steven's already done like almost half of the pencils. And so we want to put the chapter 6 cover in the book too. We just need to get the funds to finish that part of it.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm really excited to see this come to life. I'm jealous of you guys in the future watching this episode because you get to see all the cool stuff on the campaign page and all the stretch goals. But yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, I'm going to back this day one. And if you guys would like to join me in backing Indigo Clan, just go to comicsartdope.com/Indigo, and it'll take you to the Kickstarter page where you can pledge your support for this campaign. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope this, I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope this comes and goes way past the goals so that you can get add all the pages, add all the extras, and get yourself something nice as well, a reward for your labor. Um, but yeah, thank you, one for your time, but also just for bringing this out, right? Like, to bring it all full circle. Getting to see Black people doing cool stuff isn't, it's more rare than you might think. So to see a book like this out in the world, just it does my heart good. It makes me
Oh,
feel good. So thank
thank
you
you.
guys for your work.
Thank you for having us, BJ. Yeah, it's been
Thank
a
you,
great
sir.
conversation.
No problem. You guys are welcome back anytime. And
Yeah, sounds good, man. Sounds great.
awesome. So with that, guys, like I said, go back Indigo Clan Volume 1. You can get the first 5 chapters and a little bit of a preview of Chapter 6. If we hit these stretch goals, go to comicsaredope.com/indigo to back. I will leave all the relevant links in the show notes and the description of this video. And until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.